Om Shanti. Welcome to today's evening program on Bhagavad Gita for the challenging times. And we saw in our last session that definitely Gita, the holy text or the holy versions that God had uttered 5,000 years ago, seeing the present times of challenges. As I had mentioned that Nostradamus saw the present time 500 years ago, but the rishis and munis of India, on the basis of their tapasya, they were able to visualize the times 5,000 years ago. And so, accordingly, whatever they saw in their state, in their meditative state, accordingly they had written all those salvations which are essential for the present times. Because Nostradamus had mentioned what is going to happen, he could not give the salvations. But God also gave the salvations in form of Bhagavad Gita. And that is why I said, nowhere in Bhagavad Gita there is this word Hindu inscribed, which shows that this holy book is for the entire humanity. And where Arjuna is shown to be the common man in the present time, and how his life has become like a battle, constantly struggling to win each and every battle of his life. And although there are challenging times, accepting those challenges, instead of getting disheartened and depressed or getting nervous, how we are able to overcome those challenging times also. So in the last session, we saw a brief background of what was happening and how Arjuna laid down his weapons in front of God and said, I'm sorry, I cannot fight anymore. This is what happens with human beings also today. When there are challenges one after the other constantly, then at times he feels, and in his prayers, sometimes he communicates with God by saying, I've had enough. Now I'm not going to fight anymore. This is enough. So we have the potential, we have the abilities, we have the capacities, but at the same time, we get tired, exhausted, completely burnt out of energy. And that's when we feel as if I cannot struggle anymore. And some people want to end up their lives by committing suicide. But actually, there is no need to be so nervous and end up their lives. We are so fortunate at this time that we are receiving the eternal wisdom that is given by God. So, at this moment, we should realize, and instead of getting nervous, it is shown in the second chapter. The first chapter is completely questions after questions, showing his nervousness and disagreeing to struggle, to fight, to face those challenges, getting nervous, stressed, exhausted. This is what we are all going through. Then God speaks in the second chapter when the common man surrenders himself in front of God, does not want to end up his life, but at the same time he wants guidance. So this is our story, and the story going ahead now, that when we get burnt out, instead of just losing hope, let us also surrender through our mind and intellect in front of the supreme authority. And when we are able to surrender ourselves mentally, that is when God starts guiding us. And initially he says that Arjuna, there is no need for you to get disheartened, but this is the time where you need to understand your potential. And so he tells him that just as when a person is in the body is like a field where we need to perform actions. And whatever seeds we sow in the form of good or bad actions, it grows up in particularly in form of our sanskaras. That is our personality traits. And the expansion of this field are our senses. So this is what he is giving an explanation of how this body is like a field and the soul is the one who is taking charge of each and every actions that he is going through. In very simple words, then God says to Arjuna, the common man of today, that in the body, a human being has to pass through 3 stages: the childhood, the youth, and the old age. And similarly, to attain a new body, he also goes through a stage of transformation. And within that process, the soul is not destroyed, that energy is not destroyed, but it shed off one body and takes another one. And he explains to him in very simple words that just as when a child grows up, goes into adolescence, he doesn't feel unhappy. He doesn't feel as if he is losing something. He's enthusiastic. And he feels, now I'm grown up, I'm not a child. I've entered my youth. And he wants to enjoy that youthful times. Then from the youth to the adolescence, he still feels as if he's getting experienced. He wants to do so many things in life. Now that he has got companions also in life, he wants to expand his family. He wants to expand his capacity in form of his work or do something new in front of the world and give something to the world. And then from the adolescent age to the old age, and he feels, I have become experienced. And I have gathered so much of richness of experiences. And I can guide my children and my grandchildren as well. This is what he feels inside. And then at that time, when he has to shed off one body and take another one, he goes through a great transformation, but he's not feeling unhappy with it. Because the soul has got a lot of potential, it wants to do so much, but because the body and the senses are not cooperating. So, when he gets a new body, that is when he can bring out what is there in him again and give to the world. So, when he passes through all these stages, nowhere does he feel like giving up. What is this life? Nothing. Although there were many challenges in his childhood days, in his youth times, in his adolescent times, and in the old age times also. But he always had some hope. He always had some enthusiasm for himself to go along, still do something, give something to his family members, etc. Similarly, when he sheds off one body and gets into another body, the soul, the energy, the spiritual energy is continuing on the journey. It is just like we have this clothes on, and when the clothes are dirty, they become rags. We feel like, let go of this. It's dirty, it's old. Now I want some new. The same thing with the self. Then why do the relatives, they have to shed tears and feel grief, sorrow? There's no need to feel grief, sorrow. No. Because the soul is not dead. It is just changing costumes. And so, when do people shed tears? When they have attachment to the body. And sometimes it is very difficult for people to give up that attachment. The same thing was happening with Arjuna also. In the warfield, when he saw his sons standing in the war, he realized, God is by my side, nothing would happen to me, definitely, but the Kauravas, that is, those people who are doing evil acts, they would definitely attack my children. And so, for a father who is so protective for his children, it is very difficult for him to see his own children giving up or shedding off the body in front of his eyes. That is attachment. So that is why God is saying to Arjuna, why do you have to feel sorrow? Your attachment to the body anyway is going to perish away. And the soul is going onward on a continuous journey. Why should you feel bad about it? He's trying to make him realize, and this is what we also have to realize at this moment, that any attachment to perishable things would definitely give us a lot of sorrow, will not allow us to experience happiness, will not allow us to, as if, continue on the journey. Some people who are very deeply attached to the perishable bodies of their friends and relatives or family members, for them it becomes really difficult. And that is when they feel as if everything is lost and they are lost in the world. So that's when people feel as if, why should I live? So they commit suicide. They go to that extent of depression or nervousness that they do not want to live anymore in this world. So then God explains about the laws and commandments whilst we are struggling in life. And he says further that it depends on the capacity of each and every soul to tolerate. What do we have to tolerate? There are always dual experiences in life, like happiness and sorrow, cold and heat, praise and defamation. So this dual experiences are always there. Life is not continuously in one phase. Supposing if there is only sorrow, 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 no happiness at all, then also people would just get fed up of that quality of life. If it is just happiness, 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 and no sorrow, no change. Everybody wants change in life. So ups and downs are constantly happening in our lives. When we are in a state of happiness, maybe we are at the top of the world, then gradually that time also passes by and we may experience sorrow, then again we rise. So this is a constant journey of ups and downs, ups and downs. And that is the beauty. Life is not a linear process. It is functioning in a cyclic manner. And so, half of the part, we experience good things in life. Some bad experiences also are there. Why? Because those bad experiences, they teach us very good lessons in our life. And this is how we become experienced. So we have to experience both the aspects. That is the beauty of life. It is not one side. So sorrow and happiness. So this is what we have to tolerate. We have to tolerate sorrow also. We have to experience happiness also. There is cold also. There is heat also. There is praise also. People may praise you also for some things. Some people may defame you also. So this is variety in life. And when there is variety in life, we all enjoy. So God says it depends on the capacity that a person has in him that he can tolerate these dual experiences in life. The vices and the awareness of the attitudes makes one vicious in such a way that a water would take its form when placed in a mold. Just as water does not have its own shape. You take a pot and you put water in it, it will take the form of the pot. You take a glass, put water in the glass, it takes the form of the glass. You take a jug and you place the water in it, it takes the form of a jug. Water does not have its own shape. Similarly, our consciousness, it does not have any shape. Our consciousness is eternal, so beautiful, so vast, just as water is so vast. It has no limits. It can extend to any limits. Similarly, the consciousness is also such. We can expand our consciousness till the heights of the sky also, till the moon also. A person can think beyond the cosmos. That is the capacity of the consciousness. So God says to Arjuna, just as water is placed in a mold and it takes that shape, similarly, in whichever way we place our consciousness, it will take that shape. Meaning, if I place in a positive perspective, my consciousness will become completely positive. If I place in a negative mold, my consciousness would become completely negative. If I place it in a positive mold, my consciousness will become positive. Now it is my choice in which type of mold I would like to place my consciousness. Because accordingly, I will get the experiences in life. Supposing if I place my consciousness in a negative mold, means with all the negative perceptions and negative attitude and in all the negative way you experience, life becomes full of turmoil, life becomes full of struggle. Every now and then you are struggling because of that negativity, which is becoming making you so heavy from inside, stressed from inside, and you experience all negativities in your life. You experience stress, you experience nervousness, you get anxiety, there is fear, all this because it is placed in a negative mold. But if my consciousness is placed in a positive mold, what will be the experiences? Happiness, optimistic, enthusiasm, zeal, all the positive qualities. So that's why I said it is our choice what type of mold I would like to place my consciousness in. Accordingly, I will get the experience of life. If I place it in a negative mold, life will become such a struggle. Every moment it will be like a war with somebody or the other. I'll be like hurting some person. I would like hurting my family members. I may be hurting my friends. And every time I get blows back because whatever you are going to give to the world is going to send it back to you. Now, this is where the karma also comes in. So, beautifully, he explains you have to choose the mold for yourself so that accordingly you will experience the quality of your life. So, what do you all feel? What type of quality we want in our life? Do we want a positive quality of life? Do we want a negative quality of life? And I bet nobody would ever go for the negative quality of life. Everybody wants a positive quality of life. Then definitely I have to place my consciousness in a positive mode. What we do, we place our consciousness in a negative mode, and I want to get all the positive experiences, which is impossible. So this is the law and commandment of the struggle in life, the challenges that we are facing, the challenges one after the other. And if my consciousness is placed in a negative mode, what will be my responses to all those challenges? And will I be able to enjoy life after going through all those challenges and negative experiences that I gain in my life? I can never experience happiness in my life. So it is said, in this world, outside there is nothing like happiness and sorrow. We see some people who are very happy-go-lucky type people, and you see their consciousness very minutely, that they have placed their consciousness in a positive mold. That is why they are experiencing life like that. If we are constantly experiencing anxiety, stress, nervousness, anger, all these things, fear, it is because somewhere I have placed my consciousness in a negative mode. So I need to take it out from that mode and place it in a positive mode. Are we ready for that? And you can see the life. Life starts changing. We start enjoying life every moment. This is the secret that is shown in Gita. The art of living, how you need to live life. What are your choices? And what are your responses? That has to be understood very deeply. Beautifully, I read somewhere that challenges are there for everyone. Challenges are there for everyone. But for some, those challenges turn into opportunities and opens the doors to new horizons. And for some, these challenges are so, they go through such difficult times that all the doors close of new horizons and they start receiving great setbacks in life, one after the other. And for whom do these challenges turn into opportunities and opens the doors into new horizons? And for whom does it close the doors of those opportunities and become threats for themselves, gives them setbacks in life? Beautifully, it was written there. Challenges are there for everyone. But those people who make right choices, for them, the doors to new opportunities just open up into new horizons and they enter those new horizons. But those who make wrong choices in life, for them, the doors close and they start receiving threats, setbacks in life, and regrets in life. So, to make right choices, how do we do that? In order to make the right choices, our focus has to be very clear. Why do people make wrong choices? Because their mind is full of confusion, or they are wanting to experience short-lived happiness, or because they have selfish intentions and they want to fulfill those selfish intentions for themselves. So they make a wrong choice. They do not have that vastness in their thinking that it's not just me that I want happiness. Let me give that happiness to all. Let me share that happiness with all. So those who do not have any selfish intentions, who have vastness in their mind, broad thinking, broad intellect, their focus is clear and they go for the right choices. But those who are stressed, confused, selfish intentions, want to fulfill them, they make wrong choices because they are not able to see. They do not have a clear vision for themselves. That is when life becomes very difficult, very challenging every now and then. And we cannot experience that happiness. So this is the first rule to win the battle of life that is given by God in the second chapter, that the spiritual energy has all the potential, has all the capacity, but the only thing is, during challenging times, I need to keep my focus clear and make right choices. There should be no confusion at all. Otherwise, life is really going to put you to a test. In every now and then, all those doors will just close down and you feel as if you're left alone, which creates so much of frustration within ourselves. And that is when life becomes so difficult. We are not able to face our own self. We are not able to face any human being. We are not able to face anyone. And as if we are completely drained of energy and no opportunity, no doors opening up. Life is frustration. So this is the first law that is explained by God in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. All human beings who are experiencing, who are going through this challenging times, they need to place their consciousness in a positive mode, not a negative mode. It is easy to become negative, very easy. It is easy to get angry. It is difficult to keep patience. It is difficult to develop maturity. But if we have a little bit of patience at that time, especially during the challenging times, if I get agitated, if I get irritated, if I get angry, it is so easy for us to get angry, but that is not going to yield us good results. It is not going to yield us good results. So that is why, to make the right choices, but together with that, we need to have the power to tolerate, to control, to have patience, and we see the results. That's why I said to have patience is difficult. To have maturity is difficult. To have control on the self is difficult. But this is the strength we need to develop within ourselves. It is there, lying there. We need to tap and bring it out in our practical life. This is the first law that is explained by God. And then he says, this is a conflict between the field and the field man. The field, the body, the senses, and the field man, which is the spiritual energy, in which the devilish traits have to be completely demolished and allow the consciousness to be stabilized in God. Supposing we are not able to keep our mind stable, it is so much confused, a lot of stress, frustration is there, anxiety is there, anger is generated. Seeing a particular scene, or when you are going through such challenging times, all this is emerging, and it is difficult for me to just stabilize my mind and intellect. Then what should we do? So there God says, if you feel as if it is very difficult for you to stabilize your mind and intellect, then just focus your mind for a few minutes on the Supreme Being, on the Supreme Authority. I don't have to beg from him, oh God, give me strength, oh God, give me happiness, oh God, give me this, that. No. But just for a few moments, let me take that time and just go within, focus my mind on the Supreme Being, the Supreme Energy. And you can feel as if the energy just starts flowing in. The moment you get focused on him, that is the way to stabilize the mind. Just as If I am feeling a little bit drained, as if no strength, we are going through a cold winter, and then suddenly there is a bright sunshine. What will people do? Go out in the sunshine. They don't have to beg from the sun. Oh, sun, give me your warmth. You just stand out there in the sunshine. And you feel as if those rays, just close your eyes, and you can feel as if the rays are just penetrating in you. And as if there is warmth that is coming in. The same thing. You don't have to beg from God. Oh God, give me happiness. Give me strength. Give me power. No. The only thing I need to do is just go within and focus my attention on the Supreme Being, whose almighty authority, constantly radiating light, power, might, everything. And as I focus my attention on Him, I can see, I can feel as if that rays of power and strength are just penetrating in me, and the soul is getting charged. The soul battery starts getting charged. This is what we need to do. This is how to charge the battery. Just as a mobile, we have a mobile. Regularly, every day, we need to charge it. If we forget to charge a mobile, what will happen the next day? A lot of frustration will start. I forgot to charge my mobile and I don't have my power bank and I don't have this. Now what to do? I'm stuck here and I need to call some person. Everything starts. But the person who has charged it, he does not get frustrated because he can use it whenever he wants to. Similarly, we need to charge our soul battery also constantly by focusing our mind and intellect on the supreme energy and allow that energy to just flow in, and the soul battery starts getting charged. So beautiful, so easy. This is what we do. But if we do not charge ourselves, definitely frustration would emerge. Anxiety would be there. Stress would come up because I've not charged myself. Right? Then he says, a stable person cannot be possessed by his senses and vices. Why is a person possessed by his senses and vices? Because there is no inner stability. But the one who is stable from within, he cannot be possessed. He becomes like the master, and he can use his senses in the way he wants to. He doesn't get possessed by the evils. He doesn't get possessed by his own weaknesses, but is able to control his weaknesses also. He is able to use his senses in the way he wants to. This is what we see. So who gets frustrated? One whose soul battery is not charged and he was not stable from within, who does not have power from within. And he has placed his consciousness in a negative mode, so he's draining his battery very fast. So this is what happens in life. And that is when life becomes a struggle, a war, as if there is a war going on inside. And we are not at peace, we are not at rest with the self. There is no inner peace, no inner happiness, and as if we are being losers in life. But in order to win the battle of life, this is the secret that God explains. to Arjuna means to us common beings, human beings, how we need to move about in our lives. So he says, a stable person cannot be possessed by his senses and vices, as he sees himself to be equal in all the dual experiences, whether it is happiness and sorrow, praise and defamation, whatever. And he becomes worthy to attain the element of nectar, that is eternity. In practical life, how can we reach for that nectar, which will uh, again create a lot of energy within? Just as the nectar is like an energy drink, you just take it and you are charged again. And it reminds me of an incident that once there was a person and he was studying his MBA, MCom. And when he finished his study, when he finished MCom, his master's in commerce, and in his college there was some people who had come for placements. So he was also interviewed by one of the banks. And they liked his way of answering and his way of presenting everything. So they took him and said, well, we offer you this job in our bank, and it is a job of an assistant manager. What do you think about it? So in today's age, when people are losing jobs, and he as soon as he has completed his MCom, masters in commerce, and immediately he gets a job, he's so happy and he accepts it and he says, well, I will start the job. Definitely, as soon as I complete my exams, I would come over and I join. And he takes his joining letter and everything. He's very happy. He lets his parents and family members know about it, that I have got a beautiful job, and that is an assistant manager in a bank. And he feels as so great within himself that if I do a good performance, definitely in no time, maybe within a year or two, I may be promoted also to a manager, and then to maybe a branch manager, and then maybe higher post. And he was like seeing the consequences that he may receive if he gives his best in his performance. So after joining it is a real story that I'm sharing with you. So after joining it, he was very happy and so light, and every time being positive with all his people there at the working place. But there were some people who were really jealous also, because they were opting for that post, and this new person was just passed his exams, has no experience, and he has got this post. So definitely there were both types of people. So he was trying to maintain good relationships with everyone, but it is difficult to please everyone. And so there are some politics also going on. Anyway, he did not care for it, and he thought, I need to keep my consciousness positive. I need to keep my perspective positive. I need to keep myself charged. And he was like going forward with that enthusiasm, moving forward. Within a year, it happened so that somebody played a game in the bank who wanted to remove him. So they did a big mishap of about $1 million. And the whole blame came on to this person who was not even aware of what happened. And how he got caught up in that whole game. He was not aware of it. Who put the blame on him? What happened? And he was giving his best. He was doing his best. He was trying to maintain healthy relationships with everyone. But out of jealousy, somebody did something. And it was a huge racket. And a huge racket of about $1 million. And then everybody was like looking at him. What have you done? And he says, I don't know. I have not done anything. But all the proofs were like showing that he is the culprit. So finally, his top sources started forcing him, you need to resign. Because we are not going to close down this bank just because of you. You need to give resignation. So the force was so much, he had to resign. And not only that, but then the bank tried to cover up so that, but in all the news, media, social media, everywhere, this person was defamed. And he was like completely depressed and nervous. And how did this whole thing happen? Was not able to understand in his life. When he went home, everybody was trying to console him. All his family members were trying to console him. Don't worry. You'll get a good job. Doesn't matter. You have all the capabilities. Don't worry at all. We are there with you. Everyone was like giving him warmth, or everyone was trying to become a support for him. But he just couldn't understand it, just couldn't take it. How can this happen with me? Why should it happen with me only? And he was like having so many negative thoughts. And he didn't understand how he went into that negative mood. And in all the social media, in all the newspapers, in all the televisions, everywhere, his photo was appearing, and this person has done a big a racket, and he is a culprit, and this, and so many things were going on. Finally, when he gave that resignation and he was at home, he was like crying. He was in tears. He just couldn't handle himself. He was going into a state of depression, so much of negative thinking. And after that, someone would just come up and tell him, okay, go for this job, go for the interview. And someone would recommend, and he goes for the interview. And when the people who are interviewing, when they see his face, immediately they say, are you the one who was involved in that bank racket? Oh, no, sorry, we don't want anyone like you. So everywhere, there was a rejection. There was a rejection. There was a rejection. So definitely, when he used to listen to those comments, he couldn't take it. And he was finally going into a state of depression. Nobody's console, like those who were consoling him. Nothing, he would just say, nothing is happening, I'm not getting another job, because everywhere that image comes in front of me and I'm rejected. And every time I have to listen to those comments, this is not appreciated by me. Now I'm not going to go for any interviews anywhere. It is better I end up my life. So family members were afraid. They were like protecting him, like giving him good vibes, good enthusiasm, trying to divert his mind. Finally, one day, his friend was his school friend, and they were together till they studied. So when he came to know about the whole thing, he knew him from childhood. So he said, no, this is something wrong. He can't do this. There is definitely someone who had played this game with him. There is definitely somebody who had tried to make him this culprit. So finally, he was a collector of one district. When he came to know about it, he thought, let me go and see my friend. So finally, he came over to see his friend. And when he saw him in that condition, complete depression, said, what are you doing with your life? Says, I want to end up my life. Says, you can't do that. You can't just give up. This is not the way. And then finally he said, look, you are always a bright student. I have seen you from childhood. We were both together till the days we were separated. You took this job, and I went for further studies for the Indian administrative job. So today I have brought this special form. Why don't you fill this Indian Administration Services form, IAS form? So why don't you fill up that? I know you have that capacity and you can go through, pass through all the exams. And I want you to study. I want you to go ahead. Don't look for a job now, because otherwise that image is going to come in front of you every time and it's going to depress you every now and then. So go for the studies. And you have that capacity. Very reluctantly, he signed that form, filled the form, and then he started preparations for studying, going further for the Indian Administrative Services. And then, one after the other, he started passing all the exams. And after passing all the exams, he became a collector of a district. And then he realized, I had this capacity. And I was happy with that placement as an assistant manager when I had the capacity of a collector. Then he realized why this whole thing had to happen with me only. Now I understand the Supreme Father, Godfather. He knew my worthiness. He knew my capacity. And he was not happy with me when I took that job. Although my family members, because we were not able to see beyond. And we were very happy with that only, that small thing, that small share of the cake. We were very happy with that. But he wanted to give me a big cake or a big share. So, anything that comes up in life, maybe we go through a lot of pain, lot of trouble, lot of sorrow. We go through all this because he is not happy with what he has blessed us with the capacities. He wants us to serve the society in a bigger way. So that is the nectar that he gives us. But if I am wanting for that small share of cake, he is not happy. So he allows us, because at that moment he cannot snatch it away. But then finally some situation or some challenging task comes in front of us and snatches it away from me. We have to understand, he has some greater plans for me. He has thought of something great for me. Let me understand his mind. And instead of losing hope, instead of getting depressed, instead of getting into that state of depression and placing my consciousness in the negative mode, why don't I go and reach for that higher share? Because he has blessed me with that capacity and he wants me to serve at a larger level. So this person, when he understood this, and he received the wisdom also at that moment, the spiritual inputs, and he realized, yes, this is what I am meant for. I was not meant for that. So it had to come in front of me. But now I know what my real identity is. So sometimes we go through a lot of pain and trouble and everything. But because he wants to take me out of that, he said, if this racket would not have happened, I would have never left that job. I would have never thought about going for further studies. I would have never experienced this happiness which I'm experiencing now. And my complete image was like washed away. I washed it away with my capacity. So, this is how we can win the battle of life instead of becoming a victim of depression. Understand, life wants to offer you something great, and that is why those troubles, those pains come in life. Don't get depressed, don't get nervous, don't break your heart, but move forward with something big, and that is your capacity. That is your true identity. Such a beautiful understanding, such a beautiful understanding about how we should build our life, how we have to just unfold that greatness which is stored within me and come out with that. This is something really great. So, first thing we have to understand, never ever put your consciousness in a negative mode. Secondly, don't ever expect positive. Challenges are going to be there, but don't ever place yourself in the negative mode and then expect positive fruits. Don't give negative responses and expect positive gift for yourself in life. And still, if you feel that there is a lot of frustration and everything, try to just go within for a few moments, stabilize your mind, and focus on the supreme energy and just allow those vibrations, those cosmic rays to just enter your being. Charge yourself fully, and still, if something happens, then remember you're not meant for that place. Maybe you're not meant for that, but there is something God is wanting to offer you, which is great. So let me prepare myself. Challenging times will definitely come, but I need to prepare myself for those great things for which I am blessed with by God Himself, right? So, for a few moments, let us just sit in silence and with the soft music on and just try to focus within. Realize I'm a spiritual energy, sparkling, radiating, and similarly, the supreme energy is also almighty, full of all powers, like a shining sun. So, for a few moments, let us turn our attention away from the external world and focus within. Visualize the self as a conscient entity in the center of the forehead. Realizing that I am a spiritual energy, the master of the senses, the master of all the good things. Slowly and gradually, I turn my attention and focus on the supreme energy who is my Supreme Father, the Almighty. And I focus my attention on Him and I allow the positive vibrations to flow into my being and charge myself. Such a beautiful feeling. The vibrations of the Supreme Being are so soothing, so pleasant, so peaceful. I completely relax from within. My mind is relaxed. Gradually, I recharge myself from within and I can see my inner resilience is increasing. I increase my inner capacities, recharge my soul battery. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti. Okay,